Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The recipients of Zakat in the Hanbali school. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu salam ala Rasulil Kareem. Rabbana taqabbal minna. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad abduka wa rasuluka nabiyyil ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima. A'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyati a'malina. Allahumma atina nufusana taqwaha wa zakkiha. Anta khayra man zakanta waliyuha wa mawla Allahumma shuyukhana. Amma ba'd. All the praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything in the universe, they happen because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may peace and blessings be upon Allah's final prophet and messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today we continue on the fiqh al-Hanbaliya, Imam al-Sunnah, Ahmad Ibn Hanbal, who explains to us from the Sunnah, the teachings from the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on the zakat, on the charity, and who are the recipients of the zakat, who is the one that's received the zakat. And that's what the chapter is about. Because normally speaking, what happens is with the sadaqah is very much open. There's not rules and regulations for it. The zakat, what happens is it's specific on the things that are allowed and how much you have to give and what's obligatory to give and who it's given to. So those things are very specific on the zakat. And it's an obligation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not like sadaqah. Sadaqah is very much open. A person, they can do anything they want pretty much. But the zakat, they have to do it according to the rules that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down. And one of the rules is who is allowed to receive the zakat. And that's how to do it correctly. Otherwise, it's not correct and won't count. That's how serious it is, that a person, they have to make sure it goes to the appropriate place. Okay, inshallah, so let's go to the first one. So what happens is the recipients of zakat, there are 8 categories, and this is mentioned in the Quran. There's an ayah in the Quran in Surah Tawbah, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, and so on, that it mentions the 8 categories. So over here it mentions the 8 categories. You want to read the first one, Nawi? Who was the first one?
The poor.
Yes, and read 1b.
They are those who are unable to find the means to what is sufficient in earning and otherwise to fulfill their basic needs.
Yes, so the first one, fuqara, which means the more poor, the ones that can't find enough to fulfill their needs, that's sufficient for them, their basic needs, the things that they need to survive and things like that. So they have that, the people that are needy, the people that are poor. And what happens, these are the ones that are more, a greater extent of poverty than the next category, which is a little bit less extent of poverty. And those that are the fuqara, they don't have what's sufficient to fulfill their needs, their basic needs to survive and live and things like that. That's what it means by fuqara. Okay, the number 2, what category, what does that say? Number 2?
Second, the needy.
Yes, masakin. So fuqara is the very poor, masakin is needy. That's a good translation. And what that means is, what he says, those who can find some of the things that they need, but it's not completely sufficient for them. They're not able to have everything to fulfill their needs. So they have enough to survive and live, but it's not complete. They're still unable to fulfill all the needs that they have. Some of the ulama, they say that the masakin are the ones whose expenses are more than their income. Because what happens is the income that they have, they earn some money, but it's not enough to pay all their expenses. That's what somehow the ulama explain it. So it refers to people that are poor and needy, but not as much in an extent as a fuqara. That's what the Sheikh says over here. The fuqara is the one that doesn't have their basic needs, the food and things like that. And the masakin are the ones that do have the basic needs, but not all their needs that they need for everything. Okay, all right. Inshallah, it might be that the masakin, they might have some bills that they didn't pay off, so they would be masakin. And the fuqara, they don't have enough food to eat. They go hungry. So it would be like that would be like a distinction between the two. Okay, so far so good. Okay, so read number 3, Nawi.
The employees of it.
Yeah, number 3, وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا, the ones that are employed for it. And read number 3b.
They are the ones that collect it and distribute it to those who are in need of it.
Yes. So what happens is in Islamic community, Islamic society, there's some people that they go to the people and inform them what is owed on the zakat. No, the hadith on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Khudh sadaqat min mi'a'ihim," means take the sadaqah from the places where people they go to water. And what that means is that the person, the zakat collector, he goes and he tells the people what's due in the zakat. So what happens is the people that do that, they're employed to collect the zakat, and they're given from the zakat the payment that they have for being employed for the zakat. And likewise, when people they distribute it, there's also people that their job is to distribute it, and they're also employed from the zakat funds for those things. So amilina alayha, the ones that work with it. So that's what that refers to. All right? Is that clear on that? Wa amilina alayha, the ones that work for the zakat. Okay, inshallah. No, because what happens is the one that works for the zakat, they have to be knowledgeable on what's due and the amount that's available. Most of the people, they don't know. The layperson, they're not exactly sure what they have to give. So then the zakat collector goes and informs the person what's exactly due, and they have that's their job to do that and do it the appropriate way to let people know what's due, and then they pay that in the zakat. And again, the zakat, some of the money goes to the people that are employed for it. The main purpose is in the first couple categories, the poor and the needy and the other people. That's where it goes. So these people are just, they're the ones that are collecting it. They're doing the job of receiving it. So that's where it goes to. Okay, inshallah, that's number number, where we are, number 3. Okay, did you read number 4?
Those softening their hearts.
Yes, mu'allafati qulubuhum, that's literally what that means. That means to make their hearts inclined to the deen, inclined to be a Muslim, inclined to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some people in the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave them some wealth for zakat, then they became very happy, and they were happy to be a Muslim and be more devout to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because that helped them out. So it refers to that. And it talks about the next couple of points on who that refers to. And that's what it's for, to incline people to be good Muslim. That's number 4. Should we read number 4b?
They are the chiefs of their clans, those who it is hoped by giving to them will ward off their home.
Yeah, so in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to do that. He used to give it some of the other tribes. They used to have chiefs there, and he used to give them some of the zakat over there, and to ward off the harm and things like that they did. And they as a gift, you could say, somebody gives somebody as a gift, he puts the love to them. So he used to give to some of the chiefs of the other clans to keep off their animosity and fighting and violence, and that's what happened. You know, in one of the incidents, it said that in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave to one of the chiefs of the clan and the zakat and gave him a good amount. And then in the time of Umar, they came back and they asked Umar to give it. Umar said, "Get out of here, no, get lost." He said, "We gave it to you back then when we were weak and we needed the help and things like that. Now we don't care about you." So he didn't give it to them after that. So there's a story that mentions that about that. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will do that. There's some people, they are like that. If they get some of the zakat, some of the money, then that makes them happy and it quells their evil, their harm that they might do. That's what it mentions there. Okay, number 4c. What is it?
Or strengthen their faith.
Yes, to make their faith stronger. And this refers to the new Muslims, people that newly accepted Islam. So what happens for them, maybe their faith is not so strong as somebody that was a Muslim for many, many years. So then what they do is they give them some of the zakat money to make their faith stronger, you know, for them to like the deen and love the deen, inshallah. And then 4d.
Or repel them from the Muslims.
Yes. So some people, what they do is they have a dislike to Muslim or something like that, and you give them some of the zakat, and then they become happy. So that's what those things that are mentioned there. And you got one more, 4e.
Or encourage them to take the zakat from those who refuse to to give it.
Yes. Okay, inshallah. So that's also a very interesting thing over here. What this says that if the people, they're Muslim and they're obligated to give zakat, but the chief of the tribes, they don't want to give it and they don't want to enjoin the people to give it. So then you give them a little bit of the this category, and then the chief, he realizes what a good thing that is, and then he'll tell the people to give it. Then he'll encourage the people that are in his tribe to give the zakat. So then that's the interesting thing that he says about it. Okay, inshallah. So let's go to number 5.
Fifth, captives.
Yes, rikab. Rikab means those in captivity, those that are like prisoners of war, you could say, and slaves. That's what that refers to. That's the term for it. In Arabic, they use the word al-rikab, or rikab, and that's what that refers to. The prisoners, you can say, or the captives, or the slaves. That's what that refers to. And then 5b, you explain what that is.
They are rich slaves paying off their freedom.
Yes, so the word in Arabic they use is makatib, katib, slave. And what that is a slave, when he becomes a slave, anything that he earns goes to the master. Know we?
Yes.
And so he doesn't have any money. All the possessions belong to the master. So the slave, what he wants to do is he wants to pay off his freedom. So how does he do it? And if he works, then the salary he gets goes to the master also. So the way that he does it, he asks people to give the charity, to give the sadaqah, to help him pay his freedom. Then he pays off little by little by little until he pays it all off, and then it becomes completely free. And the slave that's paying off his freedom, it's in the term they call a makatib, a slave that is, it literally means one that's written down. And he has a certain portion that he paid for his freedom and a certain portion that he owes to complete his freedom. And that's the term for it. And that's what the Sheikh is saying when a person, they give the zakat, they can give it to this category, people that are slaves. And they have to be Muslim slaves, he mentions that later on, people that are Muslim, and they get the charity, the zakat and the sadaqah, and they pay off more and more and more until they pay off their complete freedom. And the term for the slave that's in that state, they call it makatib. So that's what it says, 5b. Okay, read number 5c.
And complete emancipation.
Yes. Wa'atak or raqiq. So what this means is that you have a portion that you give where the slave can pay off part of his freedom, but then you have the complete freedom that you can pay for the slaves, the prisoners of war that become slaves. So what you can do is somebody that hasn't paid anything off is just a complete slave. Then you can use the funds that are in the zakat to pay off his complete freedom or her complete freedom, so they become completely free. Not the one that's necessarily paying it off, but one that hasn't paid anything at all, and then he paid it off completely. That's what that refers to. Okay, and number 6, what's the next category?
Indebted.
Yes, gharimin, the one that owes money. So what happens is people, they borrow money and then they owe money, then they try to pay it back, they can't pay it back, then they end up borrowing more and more, and then they become a person that owes a lot of money. And the term for that in Arabic is gharimin. So what happens is a person in the zakat, they can help that person that owes money to pay off his debt, pay off the money that he owes. And that's where the zakat goes, to help that person as well. Gharimin. Okay, and read number 6b.
Those who owe to rectify themselves, to be clear of debt.
Yes, that's what that refers to. The gharimin, those that owe money, they owe a lot of money, and what they want to do is they want to pay off what they owe so that they become free of debt. They become a person that's not an indebted person. And before the time of Islam, people that were indebted, they had a lot of problems. They would have a lot of issues. Even the people that they owed money to, they would turn them into slaves, or they would take their children and make them into slaves, to pay off their debts. So a lot of issues. But after Islam, that wasn't allowed to do things like that. And in fact, Islam, it helped people to pay off the debts that they had. And Islam also forbade the interest, so it doesn't keep increasing. So you have all those things. So that's the category on 6. And you have 6C also, the gharimin, who mentions that?
We're paying off what is between two groups of Muslims.
Yes. So the gharimin, the people who are indebted, it could be a tribe owes some money to another tribe. So a person, they can spend those funds to pay off what they owe from one tribe to another tribe. That's the number 6B. Okay, do you read number 7? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you doing, Akhi Kareem? Alhamdulillah.
7 in the way of Allah.
Yes. So we're going over who a person they can give zakat to, because in Islam, it's a person, they're only allowed to give it to particular groups of people. They can't give it everywhere. So over here at 7, the next category, it says, fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one where there's a lot of contention, because people, they take it for granted. They say, fi sabilillah, you can give it anywhere. Fi sabilillah, anywhere. You give zakat any place you want because it's fi sabilillah. So as long as you have an intention for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're allowed to give it. But that's absolutely not correct. What happens is the ulama, they define what it means by fi sabilillah. They define what it means in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what they mean by that term. It's not to give it anywhere and say that it's allowed to give zakat over there. That's not the meaning for that. A person, they're making their own interpretation. They're now going by the interpretation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba and the ulama. Okay, so that's number 7. To read 7b, it talks about that.
They are soldiers that are enlisted.
Yes. So this refers to people that go in the battlefield, out to the battle. And what happens is, back in the old days, when people they went on the battle, they had their own equipment and their own mounting, their own horses and things like that. And some people, they didn't have enough funds to have that. They didn't have their own weapons and their own places to go on their horses and things like that. So then people would give them the zakat so that they can go and defend the people in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what it refers to, fi sabilillah. Okay, is that clear? Okay, inshallah. So people, they have to go by that. They have to go by how our people beforehand, the scholars beforehand, they interpreted that, what it means, not go to new ways to do the things. Okay. All right, number 8, Noe. Do you want to read it, brother? What's your name again, brother?
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim. Oh, it was nice to see you again, brother.
Yeah.
Number 8?
Yeah. Number 8.
Yes.
8, the wayfarer.
Yes. The term in Arabic, they say Ibn Sabil. Ibn Sabil. And literally that means the son of the road, the son of the path. And what that refers to is some people, they travel from one city to another city. And sometimes a person, they would go and they would travel and they would be far away from their home and they don't have any money. So they're stranded over there where they are. That's what it mentioned. You read number 8b, I think it explains that more in detail. 8b, the next one.
He is the traveler that is stranded,
Mm-hmm.
even though wealthy in his land.
Yes. So what happened, people in the old days, nowadays too somewhat, what happens is people, they live in their home and in their city where they're from, and they have all their possessions over there. Then sometimes they go on a trip someplace. And what happens, some people in the old days when they used to go on trips, sometimes it was several months on the trip, or even years, they would go on a trip to go from one city to another city, because they used to go on camel. The camel, you see, it doesn't go super fast like airplanes today's day and age. It would take them a long time. Like just to go from Mecca to Medina would take a week to go from there. So people, what they would do is they would have their homes and their possessions at home. Then they would go on the trip, and then when they went on the trip, then for some reason or another, they might not have any funds left over. And that's what they mean by Ibn Sabil, another person that is stranded, a wayfarer, that's what that refers to. And so in the zakat, a person, they can give the funds to that person to assist the person in returning to his homeland. Even though the person might be wealthy at his homeland, just he doesn't have the funds at that point in time. That's what that refers to. Okay, inshallah. All right, inshallah. Yeah, so this is something, what's interesting is sometimes, over here in America, you go out and in some places, and the person they come say, oh, I need to go back to Dallas or I need to go back to Fort Worth or something. I don't have the money. Can you give me money for the bus or something like that? So people, they say that. But these people, they know that it's haq to give them the zakat, that it's a right for people to help them for that. So they make that as an excuse, They say that an excuse to get people to give them money. That's interesting here in this area. That's what they say. But but the thing is, it is a reality. There are people that are stranded. At least in the old days, it used to be like that. There are people that go to places, they're traveling, and then they lose their money, or somebody robbed them, or they spent all their money. They don't have anything left, or they might be planning to do trade and business, and it didn't work out. So then they're stuck in where they are. So they want to get back to their home. So then, people in the zakat, the person, they can help them. So it's allowed to give them in that category. The Ibn Sabil. Some of the ulama, they also say like Ibn Sabil is guests. Because what happens is usually you have people from out of town to come, then you host them, and they put that in that category to be hosting people. And that. Okay, inshallah. So read number 9, Novi. What's number 9?
These are the 8 people of zakat. It is not allowed except to give to them.
Yes. So the Shaykh, he mentioned those 8 categories. This is mentioned in the ayah in the Quran, in Surah Tawbah. And what happens is you can only give zakat to those 8 categories of people. You can't give it to anybody besides them. That's what the Shaykh, he mentioned. Like for example, if somebody, they want to build the streets or build a school, for example. A school is a good thing to do, and a masjid is a good thing to do. So normally speaking, the zakat is not allowed for those things, but the sadaqah is allowed for them. So a person should give the sadaqah for it. And the reason for that is that what happens is most people, when they look at zakat, they see it as an obligation on the people that are wealthy. It's obligatory for them to spend, but also it's a right on the poor people. The poor people have a right to be spent upon, and they have a right to receive the zakat. So what happens is when they spend the zakat in other places, it takes away from their right. It takes away from their rights, and they're doing wrong for them. Because Allah, He enjoined the zakat on the Muslim. Allah enjoined it on the human being. The people who are wealthy will have to spend on the poor people. So instead of going to the poor people, it goes to other places. So that's why it's not right. So that's why the Shaykh, he mentioned that, and that's the ulama, they say that. It's only allowed to give the zakat in these 8 categories. It's not allowed to give it anywhere else. If you have sadaqah is different than zakat. Sadaqah you can give in other places. They're very much open. But the zakat, it's specific. Okay, is that clear? Okay, inshallah. Okay, let's go to number 10. Who's next? Brother Ibrahim, you'll be number 10.
It is permissible to pay to one of them because the Prophet ﷺ ordered the Banu's right to pay the alms to Salama ibn Sa'd and said to Qubaysa, stay Qubaysa until the alms come to us, and we will order it for you.
Yes, okay, inshallah. So what happens is you have the 8 categories, and sometimes you have some different people in the different categories. So what a person, they can do is they can give it just to one person in those 8 categories, or one category. They don't have to do it to all 8. And the reason the Shaykh, he mentioned that some of the ulama, they say that a person, they should distribute it evenly. You have 8 categories, so each one you give an eighth. 1/8 here, 1/8 here, 1/8 here, 1/8 here. Then it comes out to be 100%. That's what some of the ulama, they say. But in the Hanbali school, they say it's fine just to give it to one category, or even just one person in the zakat. You don't have to spread it across all the 8 categories. So that's what that point is on number 10. Okay, is that clear, Noe, on that? Okay, inshallah. Let's read number 11, Noe.
Poor and needy, what completes their needs.
Okay, it says, give to these people and anyone more than that. Not more than that, I'm sorry, I made a typo over here. Okay, so these people, what the Shaykh mentioned here, that you give them a particular amount, but don't give them too much. Not more than the one that's there. That's what it should read on the top there. I made a typographical error. It says, give to these people and not more than what the Shaykh mentioned here. So the first one, you give it to the poor and the needy, the fuqara wal masakin, until it completes what they need. If a person, they don't have enough food, then you give them the zakat until they have enough food. If they have bills, you give them the zakat until they pay the bills. But he said not to exceed that amount, not to give it more than that, just so that they can fulfill so they can pay off their needs. No, that's what the Sheikh said. No. Okay, and then 12, what's that one? Sheikh Ibrahim, you want to mention that one?
The employee of the amount of his labor.
Yes. So somebody, if they are employed to collect the zakat and pay off the zakat, then the amount of work that he does, and you pay him that. You don't pay him an extra exorbitant amount, just on that. So the zakat is not wasted. Sometimes people, they think, oh, this is zakat, so we're going to waste the money. That's not appropriate. Just spend what is a fair amount, on the person that's a zakat collector, not more than the labor that the person they did to collect the zakat and pay the zakat. Okay, number 13, now we can read that one.
The softeners, what compromises their support.
Yes, so you give the one category was the mu'allafati qulubuhum, the one that you make their hearts inclined to the deen. So you give to them what's a sufficient amount that makes them inclined to the deen, but then you don't want to give them so much, where it's much exceeding that. That's what the Sheikh mentioned. Okay, number 14.
The rich slave
Mm-hmm.
and indebted, what frees them from their debt.
Yes, so we talked about that before. The maktuba, the slave that's paying off his freedom, so you give it to him to the amount where he becomes free, but not like double that amount or triple that amount, something like that. Then also a person that's in debt, then you give that person the money so that they can pay off their debt, not a extreme amount, much more than that. Okay, that's what he's saying on the zakat. The thing is, when you give the zakat, you give it to the people, and you want to give the appropriate amount. You don't want to give like too much extra on people, then the other people get deprived of it. So that's what the Sheikh is saying over here. Okay, inshallah. And then number 15, now we can read that one.
The soldier, what is needed to go to his battle.
Yes, so that's the one that's fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you give him a sufficient amount so that the person, he is equipped to go in the battle, not like so much extra, for that. Okay, inshallah, and we're on number 16. Can read that one, Akhi, Sheikh Ibrahim?
The wayfarer, what allows him to return to his land.
Yes, so somebody is stranded in the land, so you give him a sufficient amount that allows him to return his land, but not too much more than that, because then the person that it goes away from the other people. That's the reason for it, inshallah. All right, Noe, to read number 17.
5, it is not allowed to give to them except if they are poor.
Mm-hmm.
The poor, needy, the rich slave, the one indebted, and the wayfarer.
Yes, so what happens is there's 8 categories, and what happens is the Sheikh, he mentions that sometimes you give to people that are wealthy, not necessarily people that are poor. So he mentions there's 5 people that are poor, and he mentioned those 5: the fuqara wal masakin, the poor and the needy, the rich slave, he's poor, and the indebted, the one that owes money, he's poor, and the one that's a wayfarer, then he might be poor. So all those people are poor, then you give them the zakat. And the reason he mentions that is because some people, they might be rich and they get the zakat also, and that's what he mentioned in the last point. And the reason for that is because he'll mention that on the last point, the people that are rich and why they're able to get the zakat. Okay, you read that one, Sheikh Ibrahim, the last one, number 18, the 4 that are wealthy, you can give them the zakat.
For it's allowed to give to the wealthy, the employee, the software, the soldier, and the indebted, between 2 groups.
Yes, okay, inshallah. So these people, they might already have money, but it's allowed to give it to them. The first one is the employee for the zakat. The person that goes and tells the people what's owed on the zakat, and the one that distributes the zakat. He might not be a poor person, but he's paid for his labor, for his employment, for doing the work of doing the zakat. So that's allowed to give it to him from the zakat. The next one is the mu'allafati qulubuhum, softener of the heart. So there might be somebody that's a new Muslim, or somebody that's not inclined to Islam. Even though he might have some money, it's allowed to give him from the zakat money to make him soft, to make his heart inclined to Islam. And the third one, fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person might be have some money, but he doesn't have the equipment and the ability to go in the battlefield, so it's allowed to give it to him. And the last one is the indebted between two groups. So if there's two groups, two groups of Muslims or two tribes, and one tribe owes money to the other tribe, then it's allowed to use the zakat to pay off the debt that they have. Because it's not an individual, it's a whole, it's a whole tribe. That's what the Shaykh mentioned on those categories that are there. So those people that are allowed to take the zakat, even though they're not poor, that's the case for them, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. All right, inshallah. So let's stop over here. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Do you have any questions or comments, Shaykh Ibrahim?
Like, example for the poor and the needy, what contributes to their need?
Yes.
Or like, the amount of zakat, when it will contribute their need, it is okay?
Yes. What that means is, like, let's say somebody here in America, right? They don't have enough food to eat.
Yeah.
So then you give them a sufficient amount for their food. You don't give them $1 million, Like, that's what that means, You don't give them like so much, that's what they'll say. So that they're able to fulfill their needs,
So like the amount that you have, if it's less than, like, what do you think their need?
Well, he mentioned two categories. One was the fuqara, which are extreme need. They don't have enough to eat, enough to survive and things like that. Then you give them things so that they can fulfill their needs, so they're able to do those things. And the masakin refers to ones whose, usually ulama will say, whose expenses are more than their income. So maybe they have an electric bill or something like that, and but they have enough food to eat and things like that, but they don't have enough money to pay off all their bills. So then you give to them. So they're in need also, but not to the extent of the first one, which is more extreme need. So that's the difference. That's what the Shaykh says, the difference between the two. And again, to bear in mind, the zakat is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so people that do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help the people out, that are in need, and it helps them, and then Allah gives the person reward. And Allah made that an obligation, It's one of the main pillars of Islam. Hakimu salat wa atu zakat. So it's obligatory on the human being. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained. All right. Okay, inshallah. And the thing is, zakat, it's something that's obligatory, it's due on a person, so a person, they got to make sure they do it correctly, they do it right. If they do it wrong, then they didn't fulfill their obligation. Just like the salat, when you pray the salat, you got to make sure that you do it correctly. If you don't do it correctly, then that's it, it doesn't count. Same thing with the zakat. So it's very important to do it the right way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained. All right, jazakallah khair. Okay, Noe, did you have any questions or comments? No, okay. Did you know these things before? Are you going to be in debt in the future? Right now you're 15 years old, right? In the society here, it's a society of debt. People, they owe so much money. You're going to be like that in the future? Hopefully not, inshallah, no. But that's one category that's allowed to give the zakat, for people that are in debt. Okay, inshallah, so we'll stop over here. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayk. Wallahu ta'ala alam. If I said anything from the ilm, you follow it. Anything for myself, just disregard it. Allah knows best. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.